If you want to know the secret to happiness and the meaning of life, you're in the right place.
Hello, welcome to my video.
Hello, I'm TA Autumn. I was rewatching the video and I realized it was a little fast. That's why I'm here to explain some concepts. You're going to know the secret to happiness whether you want to or not. Watch out for me. I'll be popping up throughout the video. Hello Geek Squad, my name is Autumn Rain and today we're going over the happiness hypothesis by Jonathan Haidt. The happiness hypothesis is H equals S plus C plus V. In other words, your happiness equals your biological set point plus the conditions of your life plus the voluntary activities that you choose to take. Now, write this formula down because I'm about to dive deep. Additionally, the answer to the meaning of life probably isn't 42. The answer is to ask yourself a different question. How can I lead a life that I find meaningful? We'll come back to that, but first, let's go over this happiness equation step by step. I'll start by saying that if you're naturally a negative, pessimistic person, that's okay. People with a lower happiness set point tend to have more activity in their right frontal cortex, and this leads to more fear, more anxiety, more shame, higher chances of depression, and a tendency to focus on negative experiences. Additionally, this biological mess runs deep because you can even see the difference in babies. 10-month-old babies with more activity on their right side are more likely to cry when separated from their mothers. And this difference in infancy tends to follow people into an anxious adulthood. If you don't trust any old brainwave study, trust twin studies. Identical twins who are separated at birth are the holy grail for determining how much of an effect genes have versus environment. Twin studies generally show that 50 to 80% of all variance among people in their average levels of happiness can be explained by genes as opposed to life experiences. People's average level of happiness is highly inheritable. Good fortune or bad, you'll most likely return to your brain's default level of happiness, which is largely determined by your genes. We've just determined that you have a default level of happiness, but despite the fact that this set point is genetically based, you can change it. We're going to go over some of these methods now. The only way to change your set point is to change yourself, or at least your affective style. That means you need to change how you think and process information. And the best way to do that is meditation, cognitive therapy, or Prozac. Think of meditation as a free pill that if taken every day will reduce your anxiety and increase your contentment. Additionally, there are a ton of side effects, and they're all great. Of course, meditation isn't as easy as taking a pill, but it's a time-tested way of healing your mind. If you want to learn more about meditation, check out my sister's video that covers the different meditation practices as well as how to get started. Because unfortunately, meditation is not one size fits all. Now, before I go into cognitive therapy, I just want to make it clear that there are plenty of other therapies that do work. And if you're thinking about therapy, go with the one that fits you best. Cognitive therapy addresses the cognitive triad of depression. The idea that you're no good, the world is no good, and the future is hopeless. This is super powerful because if you change your perception, then you change your reality. When cognitive therapy is done very well, it's just as effective as Prozac, except even better because the great effects continue even after the treatment stops. Unlike Prozac, which is just a chemical shortcut to compensate for any losses in the cortical lottery. The author gives us a perfect way to think about it. Prozac is like giving contact lenses to somebody with poor but functioning eyesight who has just learned ways of coping with their limitation. As a note, I'm sure that there are other ways to raise your happiness set point. Meditation, cognitive therapy, and Prozac are just 3 ways that the author provides and that I personally agree might work. However, even if your set point is high, either naturally or through hard work on your part, there's still more to the equation. P.S. If you're bummed to hear that your biology plays a role in your happiness, remember, your gene/set point might only account for 50%. There's still a lot of area up for grabs. Additionally, it's not so much a set point as a range. Whether you operate on the high or low end of that range is up to your conditions and voluntary activities, the other 2 parts of the happiness equation. When I talk about the conditions for happiness, you might think I'm referring to environmental and demographic factors, but In actuality, those influence happiness very little. I'm going to go off record and say that factors like continuous oppression are probably going to make themselves known in your happiness level. However, you might get used to it due to the adaptation principle. Rather than give you a boring explanation, let's have you guess who's happier, Bob or Mary. Bob is a hot, white, athletic, 35-year-old man earning $100,000 in sunny Southern California. He is super smart and he spends his free time reading and at museums. On the other hand, Mary is a plain, overweight black woman on dialysis for her kidney problems. She lives in snowy Buffalo, New York with her husband, and together they make a combined income of $40,000. Due to her highly sociable nature, she spends most of her free times involved with activities from her church. Even though you might want Bob's life, if you had to put money on it, best believe Mary is probably happier. Mary has stronger connections, and she has a great marriage, which is one of the factors most strongly and consistently associated with happiness. All Bob has going for him is power, wealth, status, and a lot of sunshine. But unfortunately, those are all subject to the adaptation principle. In other words, Bob got used to his good fortune. Perhaps you think that the best thing that could ever happen to you is winning the lottery. And perhaps you think that the worst thing that could ever happen to you is becoming a paraplegic. However, unbelievably, you'll most likely adapt to both. Within a year, both lottery winners and paraplegics have, on average, mostly returned to their baseline levels of happiness. We can probably thank our neurons for this adaptation. Nerve cells respond like crazy to new stimuli, but they habituate and fire less when there is a steady state. So, just like Bob probably got used to most of his privilege, Mary probably got used to most of her disadvantages. Even health problems are subject to the adaptation principle, provided they're not debilitating and growing progressively worse. Which means, even on dialysis, Mary can kiki with her husband. This is all to say that all those things you think might be making you or someone else unhappy might just be a red herring.
Hello again. We just covered the adaptation principle, which basically says we get used to a lot of things, and we might blame those things for our unhappiness, when in reality, a lot of our unhappiness comes from inside. So, don't ever let yourself believe that you can't be happy because of your circumstances.
People who worry every day about food and shelter are going to be significantly less happy than those who don't. However, once someone has their basic needs met, they start inching closer and closer and closer to that point of diminishing returns where money doesn't buy more happiness. The external conditions that matter are those that are largely unaffected by the adaptation principle. One of these conditions is noise. Never live by a highway or a traffic light. Why? Because studies show that you never quite get used to it. Another one of these conditions is commuting. Don't move farther away from something important just for a bigger house. You'll most likely adapt to the smaller home, but you will probably never adapt to the longer commute, especially if it's filled with traffic. A huge condition that you almost never get used to is a lack of control. If you feel like you have no control over what's happening in your life, find a way to have control over something, anything, even if it's small. A little bit goes a long way. In a very famous study, 2 floors of a nursing home were given household plants and 1 movie night a week. However, on one floor, residents got to choose the plants they had and were responsible for watering them. They also had a say in what movie they watched. On the other floor, nurses chose the movie and they chose the plants, which they also watered. I'm reading this next part from the book so I don't fudge any of the results. On the floor with increased control, residents were happier, more active, and more alert, as rated by the nurses, not just by the residents. And these benefits were still visible 18 months later. Most amazingly, at the 18-month follow-up, residents of the floor given control had better health and half as many deaths. 15% versus 30%. Increased control can lead to increased engagement, energy, and happiness. On top of watching out for noise, long commutes, and a lack of control, you also need to watch out for shame. The adaptation principle just decided to leave this one alone for some reason. For example, if you feel shame over your appearance, that's a big problem. This is one of the reasons people who undergo plastic surgery tend to be satisfied with the process, particularly if it's breast enhancement or reduction, even though these are seemingly superficial changes. The fact of the matter is that feeling shame daily is very powerful, but in the negative. You never get used to it and it is detrimental to your happiness.
Hello. I went out for a second, but I'm back. You know I never leave you. Okay, let's go over what we learned. We just covered 4 conditions that are free from the adaptation principle. Obviously, the 2 to watch out for are lack of control and shame. These puppies will drain you and occasionally your will to live. So if you have any problems in these areas, you're going to want to sort that out immediately. Focus on what you can control and let that sustain you and give you joy. And when it comes to shame, I recommend listening to Brene Brown if that's a problem for you. Shame is her specialty and she loves helping people get over it. Now, keep paying attention. We're about to go over the most important condition there is.
The last condition that the book covers that's free from the adaptation principle is relationships. This condition trumps all of the other conditions. The number and strength of your relationships is so unbelievably crucial to your happiness. As the book states, an annoying office mate or roommate or having chronic conflicts with your spouse is one of the surest ways to reduce your happiness. You never adapt to interpersonal conflict. It damages your happiness every day, even on days when you don't see the other person, but ruminate about it nonetheless. On the flip side of the coin, even though you do kind of adapt to the love and care you receive within relationships, those relationships will still give you a good chunk of long-lasting happiness and general good feelings. I don't know if you recognize this picture, but if you don't, I'm going to explain it as best as I can. Basically, there was this guy named Harlow, and he had a ton of baby monkeys that he had separated from their mothers. He was researching attachment, so he put these baby monkeys in a cage, and inside the cage were 2 wire monkey figureheads. One had milk coming from it, and the other had nothing, but it was wrapped in a nice soft terry cloth. And lo and behold, the baby monkeys started treating the soft terry cloth monkey as their mom and would only use the wire monkey to drink from. Why? Because babies need comfort. Before this point, many psychologists thought that babies didn't actually need the comfort of their parents, which was frankly ridiculous. Some tests were also done with human babies, where moms would unexpectedly leave the room for an unknown amount of time, and lo and behold, this was not good for the babies. Studies reveal that both humans and monkeys, to some extent, need a source of consistent love and care in their lives for the best odds of healthy development. And it's not only human children who need this. Humans in general need a consistent source of love. It's insanely important. And for misanthropes who think humanity sucks, yes, hell can be other people, but so is heaven.
Hello. We just covered the most important condition there is, love. I ran out of water, so I'm going to switch to wine now. It's fine. There are many different types of love. Familial love, love for a friend, romantic love, love for humanity in general. Doesn't matter what type. Either way, you need it. It's non-negotiable. If you somehow found yourself utterly alone in this world, you need to go out and find your tribe immediately. And if you're not utterly alone, but you feel alone, then you need to go and reestablish some connections. Because, yeah, money might help you, but you would be surprised how much a friend can do for you. Seriously though, go get some friends. I know it can be hard. However, it's seriously the thing that's going to elevate your life. You need strong connections. I'm serious.
If you haven't already, please give this video a like. The more likes I get, the more I can make content for your viewing pleasure. Thank you. I appreciate your soul. Now we're on to the last part of the happiness equation, voluntary activities. What you choose to do in your free time is your business. But Jonathan does have a few suggestions for you, and I'm here to relay them. Did you know that getting a job that pays you a little less but gives you more vacation time is actually more beneficial to your happiness? That's because a vacation in Hawaii with your family is generally going to make you happier than a Rolex watch, scientifically speaking. One of the reasons being that the best things in life come from doing, not having.
Hello. Welcome to my office hours. Now, what I was trying to say in this statement is what you do matters, not just the outcome. What you do is more important than what you get. That's why your voluntary activities matter. Your routine and how you live your life matters.
Implementing a daily routine that includes things like random acts of kindness, writing what you're grateful for, and meditation will also increase your happiness in the long term. But mostly you want to get a core pursuit, a hobby that you see as so much more, because the goal is to turn that voluntary activity into a condition called flow. Flow is better than getting day drunk on a Wednesday. It's a state of total immersion in a task that's challenging yet closely matched to your abilities. It's when you're in the zone and you have an air of effortlessness about you. You can experience flow while writing, painting, dancing, singing, playing the piano, skiing, playing volleyball, or anything else you can think of. The key to flow is this. You're engaged in a task that is challenging and has your full attention. You have the skills necessary to meet the task, and you receive immediate feedback at each step. Receiving immediate feedback is important because it ties back into the progress principle, which essentially says the joy is in the journey. Remember, your neurons respond much more to change than they do to a steady state, which is why hiking up a mountain just to feel a sense of victory at the top is really stupid. The joy you would have upon victory, though great, would be very fleeting. Rather, you should do it for that little surge of joy you get each step of the way. And you might laugh at this example, but what about a person who pursues a career they don't like for the money they'll have when it's over?
Pay attention! We just covered the adaptation principle and the progress principle. Now, these principles are based off the same concept, that we respond more to change than a steady state. So if we're in a steady state, we adapt, hence the adaptation principle. But if there isn't a steady state and we're experiencing progress, then we go to the progress principle. And because things are slowly changing, we get the benefit of never getting used to the circumstances, right? We can always get constant surges of joy as we're working towards our goal. This is why flow exists. People who chase after money, fame, and beauty are found to be consistently less happy and even less healthy than those who pursue less materialistic goals. In conclusion, we get more joy from progress than achievement because the joy is in doing, not having. This is why you must achieve flow, like an elephant and its rider. You might have noticed there's an elephant and a rider on the cover of this book. It stands for many things. The rider can often be thought of as your logical, conscious, superego self, while the elephant is your emotional, subconscious, passionate id self. And flow is when the rider and elephant are in complete harmony. You lose yourself in a task and everything in your body and mind is perfectly aligned. I love the concept of flow. I could do a whole video on that topic alone, which is why I actually will. So if you want to learn about flow too, make sure to subscribe and we can go over it together. The psychology of the optimal experience. So now you know that the formula to happiness is your set point, which you can raise, the conditions in your life, the most important of which are your relationships, and your voluntary activities, which you want to use to create a condition called flow. But have you ever felt happy but empty? Have you ever searched for more? Have you ever wondered about the meaning of life? If so, that's completely understandable. But if you want to stop or prevent an existential crisis, stop asking yourself about the meaning of life, and instead, let's answer how you can lead a life that you find meaningful. The best way to find meaning is to connect with something larger than you. It's not enough just to work for yourself, not if you're trying to find meaning and purpose. Instead, you need to find a way to serve your community and beyond. Yes, it's actually that simple. The way to find meaning in life, i.e. the meaning of life, is simply to help others. And crazy enough, just pushing yourself to be a more virtuous and giving person will actually contribute to your happiness. There's an entire field of study on this topic, and it's been shown to work. However, there's a catch. If you truly want to lead a happy and meaningful life, you'll need to achieve coherence. Coherence is having your physical, mental, and spiritual self align. This means that your goals, values, beliefs, and other characteristic adaptations must align with your basic personality traits and your life story. Imagine a gregarious woman who's working in a low-contact, people-free job whose life story reads, an artist forced by her parents to pursue a practical career. That's bad. Even if this woman is helping others and she feels her life is meaningful, she's most likely not happy. She's not going to achieve flow, and she needs more coherence. It's obvious. Studies show that people who are mentally happy and healthy have more coherence among their goals. Their life is so aligned that even pursuing their short-term goals advances their long-term ones. Now, it might overwhelm you to strive for a life that's both happy and meaningful, so just start by striving for a life of coherence, and eventually you'll get there. If you have coherence, instead of seeing a job or a career, you'll see a calling. Additionally, provided you're playing to your strengths and staying true to yourself, you'll have scattered moments of flow throughout your day because you'll be doing work that truly appeals to you. We've covered a lot in this video, and just to make sure it sticks, I'll now read a small passage from the book. Happiness is not something you can find, acquire, or achieve directly. You have to get the conditions right and then wait. Just as plants need sun, water, and good soil to thrive, people need love,
work, and a connection to something larger. It is worth striving to get the right relationships between yourself and others, between yourself and your work, and between yourself and something larger than yourself. If you get these relationships right, a sense of purpose and meaning will emerge. I really hope you learned something watching this video, but don't click off yet. You're actually at one of the most important parts of the entire thing. That's right, you guessed it. It's time for our actionable step of the day. Today's actionable step is actually pretty easy. All you have to do is take a strengths quiz. Let me explain why it's so important. You need to play to your strengths so that your elephant and rider can be on the same page. Have you ever thought to yourself, oh, I really want to change, and you saw something and you were like, I'm gonna do this. You were super energized, complete Mamba mentality, and then you had zero follow through. That's because the rider decided to change, but the elephant didn't decide shit. Epiphanies can be life-altering, but only if your elephant is down to follow the program. So, play to your strengths and what you actually have a passion for. Otherwise, your emotional, passionate, subconscious self will most certainly sabotage you. As Aristotle alluded to, a good life is one where you develop your strengths, realize your potential, and become what it is in your nature to become. Now, I don't know, maybe you have to pray, but I do know that you can start by taking a strengths test. The link for it is in the description, so please follow through. After that last explanation, I needed a drink. So, playing to your strengths is how you achieve coherence. Coherence is how you find both happiness and meaning. I hope this helped. If you have any questions, rewatch the video or message me in the comments. Now, you need to pay attention to this next part because I'm gonna show you how to put what you've learned into practice. My gift to you. Just so you can see how powerful playing to your strengths is, I'm going to go over one last story and then I promise I will end the video. The author of this book is actually a psychology teacher, and he has a project every year where he has his students try to make themselves into a better person and then prove that they've done it. About half succeed, usually by using cognitive therapy on themselves or by employing a strength, or both. One student really hated that she had such a hard time forgiving people. She could never find it in herself to forgive those who had hurt her, and she would constantly ruminate on it. But she wanted to change. So for her final project, she drew on her strength of loving. Each time she felt that someone had slighted her, instead of going into that victimhood spiral, she brought up a positive memory about that person, and instantly she was flooded with some affection. This cut down her anger and in a way freed her, stopping all those negative feelings she otherwise would have felt. Even though at first it was really effortful, eventually she could do it with ease. Her rider had trained her elephant. She had a chart that tracked her progress and truly became a more forgiving person just by focusing on how well she could love. Just by knowing your strengths, you'll be better able to change and craft a life of coherence where you can find meaning and happiness. That's it. I promise I'll end the video now. I highly recommend you read this book. Granted, it's not the easiest read, but if you like psychology, then you'll love it, and it is sure to benefit you. However, if you watch this video all the way through, then you should be good. And if you need a written version of this video, you can go to my blog, where all the amazing lessons we covered today are written out. I don't know about you, but I'm a reader. Like, okay, maybe that's obvious, but I really need things written out. And if you do too, then head over to the blog. It is sure to help. The link for that is in the description. And as always, if you like this content, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you next time. Bye! P.S. Make sure to do that actionable step. Flow is better than chocolate after sex. It's... Wait, I gotta do it one more time.
You're really gonna talk about sex? You look like 16.
I'm saying it's better than chocolate after sex. On top of that, I got this. Game time. Particularly if it's breast.
Just say breast.
I'm trying. Okay.
So don't believe that you can't be happy because of your circumstances.
You messed up. That was a good one. You put the drink on the wine.
It was yummy.
But you would be surprised how much a friend can do for you.
When you looked at the glass, it looked like you're talking about alcohol. That's not the right messaging.
10% is the dime street or you don't take home.
Okay.
Was I filming?
Yes.
Oh.
Okay.
Put in the bloopers. What was I gonna say? Oh, I remember now. My gift to you